Hello, everybody. Welcome back here live at Torrens University in Queensland, in Brisbane specifically. Makes sense because it is our Queensland final. Mansfield up 1-0 against St. Paul's after a very dominant performance, or you could say a very unfortunate level 1 invade. Yeah. Either way you want to look at it. Game 1 goes to the Mansfield side, but fortunately for everyone at home watching, it is a best of 5.
It is. There's more games to come.
Exactly.
It's not over already.
And I somehow very highly doubt we're going to be getting another one-sided affair like we saw in our opening game.
No. I think the biggest improvement for St. Paul's here is don't go for level 1 invade when your comp's weaker. That's probably the biggest thing, especially into a Scion queue, which is basically free to do whatever they need to do. If you land that, it was a beautiful 4-man knock-up, and it was basically from that. Silas, of course, really strong level 1 because he has, in close range level 1 because he can get those 2 autos off with that E, has effectively 2 abilities instead of 1. I had Lulu as well, which the slows. Jinx, obviously, rocket AoE damage when you get that big knock-up, and it was kind of over from then. And because they had that Jinx, those scaling Silas picks, it just kind of was way too hard. There was good opportunities by Hunting You, the jungler for St. Paul's, who did come back into the game and got 3 or 4 ganks off on Keep Congaroo in a row. Started to look like they were rolling, but that bot lane just got way too far ahead. Blazing Spirit ended up with like 12 CSPM, perfect KDA, like had 10 kills or something. It was just ridiculous. But, it was one of those games where it's not like St. Paul's necessarily did anything too bad, and it's not like Mansfield completely wiped the floor. It was more just like, they got a bit of a lead and they just won. They did what they had to do, but neither team looked particularly better or worse. So I think this second game is going to be completely different.
Yeah, I'm hoping it will be, and already promising signs that we'll get a different game because we're going to be swapping sides for our second game, which should mean for a different draft. St. Paul's now on the blue side, Mansfield going to be in red as we get ready to kick off our second pick and ban of this beautiful afternoon. And I'm kind of curious to see what we're going to be prioritizing at the moment in terms of this one. Lulu going to be the target, so Shiloh Stargo actually going to be focused
Not
a bit.
getting that again.
And we were talking about this in between the games. Who would we give our MVP to? And we kind of agreed, that Lulu was a major catalyst for Mansfield's
100%.
victory.
And again, the Gwen getting banned out once again. Busted champion. Just get it out of here. Don't want to play against it. I would expect maybe a Silas ban to come through. What they banned the first game? They also banned... I think there was a set ban.
The Galio ban.
Galio was red side bandit.
No, it was a blue side ban. It's Mansfield who banned the Galio. It was the first ban. It was the first ban.
Yeah, it was two actually. Yeah, so there's the set taken off the table, and there'll be one more champion.
Graves was the
Graves. That's the other one.
Graves was banned by Mansfield. The first.
So they're just targeting basically champions from last game, which isn't a bad strategy. Make them switch it up, make them take on something different. Because obviously when you come into that game 1, that's usually the comp that you've had the most confidence with. You've gone, first game of finals, this is what we're going to play. This is going to be our safe. We can do it, and then we'll adapt from there, and we'll change and we'll move. So that's why they've just gone, look, I don't want to play against that again. Obviously, it was one of those things where it's like, look, we just got kind of rolled, but at the same time, you don't want to give those opportunities if you're going to make the same mistakes again. And there's like Galio, that final ban as well, taken away from Admiral Kim, forcing him maybe back onto his Echo. Yeah,
I'll be curious to see, though, if St. Paul's was going to be willing to go back to the Echo. Wasn't quite as effective as they would like, although with the Silas banned away, could leave for an opening.
Well, I've actually ran into Admiral Kim in my solo queue just randomly. And this guy has like 500k points on Echo. He's an Echo 1 trick. So him, if it's up and available, is most likely he picks it. But instead they're going to go for that Graves as the first pick. Good flex pick 2, really strong top, mid, and jungle. I'm expecting it just to go straight to the jungle, but it is actually really strong in solo lanes at the moment. Stronger in solo lanes than it is in the jungle, which seems to be a trend with a lot of high priority picks at the moment. And Seraphine, interestingly highlighted, similar to the Lulu, so very similar pick there. Or could be flexed into the mid lane as well. Very strong mid laner. Riot's trying to make her a very strong mid laner. I don't know if she actually is, but they keep buffing her for mid lane. So
I feel like it's probably going to be support, though, knowing Shiloh Stargo's playstyle and sort of the champions they prefer. Hat's going to be able to get that bully pair back. Had a perfect game. Game number 1, never fell, so not too surprising to see that. It still leaves up that Echo for Admiral Kim. Should St. Paul's look to run that pick back as well? I feel like it does have some pretty nice early and mid-game synergy with the Graves, so it's not the worst pick in the world. And it could force Closer onto a more conservative pick than what we saw in game number 1.
Silas is pretty conservative. Silas is basically, the only thing more conservative than Silas is like a Malzahar. or maybe an Orianna or something like that. But
well, that's what I was thinking. Was actually the Orianna or the Syndra or something. A bit more of that zony control mage, and that's something that I think St. Paul's would be happier if Closer was put on something like that than necessarily an aggressive champion. It is going to be the Mordekaiser locked in for top, and a Lee Sin
solo lane,
played.
baby.
So that's going to probably be a mid lane Lee Sin.
It could be top lane too. Both equally as strong. In Victor, is that Victor? I'm assuming it's going to be Victor into the mid lane. It's not going to be Victor top. Mordekaiser is definitely gone top. So yeah, it will be a Lee Sin mid, or Graves mid. You don't know. Double flex could be either. I know they're both very strong in the mid lane. I mean, Lee Sin's a lot weaker since they nerfed his E. Has that wave clear. The Tempest isn't as strong in the wave clear, but generally what they do now is you just put 2 points into the E, and then you max your normal abilities just to get to that same baseline. Because you were going to max it last anyways, but it's just using that 30 damage per rank. Just level it up one, and then you're in that same. So that's basically it. Lee Sin gets set back on ability, and the champion's still quite strong. At least when you see pro players take it.
Meanwhile, down in the bot lane, which is still going to be up for grabs, both of the bot laners have yet to really lock anything in. The priority ban is on the Kai'Sa, and that's a little bit surprising to me. The Kog'Maw makes a bit more sense to get banned out right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see, well, I am going to be surprised seeing the Vayne. I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Jinx ban from St. Paul's, just based on how that last game went. However, I still feel there are other champions that have that similar playstyle to Jinx that can get locked in by Mansfield. So do you kind of go for another priority ban there, or do you look to get rid of perhaps a different support?
I mean, Jinx Seraphine isn't as strong as Jinx Lulu. Sure. Jinx Lulu synergizes super well because obviously it has that polymorph to protect him, so you have that kind of second to react. Seraphine doesn't have that same thing, and Aphelios is very, very strong, but with Seraphine, I wouldn't go for it. I mean, I wouldn't. With Seraphine, you're looking for something that really works with her. Almost a bit like a Senna, something like that. A fasting Senna is really, really strong. But of course, we're going to go back. Blazing Thread had a great game on that Jinx, but Aphelios, you need something that's going to help. Or you need like a Tahm Kench, a Thresh. I mean, Thresh obviously Aphelios is perfect synergy, but you need something that's going to help you escape. Similar to a Jinx, but Jinx has a little bit more escapability because she has obviously her root as well, but plays a little bit further out, where the Aphelios is a bit more hit and miss. Tristana, really strong AD carry pick, can be super aggressive, and I would like the Tristana a lot more than the Ezreal. But our Ezreal can be really strong depending on the support matchup, so they need to pick something that's really strong in the Seraphine. The problem is,
I would like the Leona right here.
I was going to say, Leona kind of gets punished because of the low range. I reckon the best pick here is the, I can't think of it.
Nautilus?
Brand.
Well,
Brand, because you just basically outpoke Seraphine, because the thing with Seraphine is she has a big range advantage. Like against Kai'Sa, like there's no need to ban Kai'Sa because Kai'Sa just gets steamrolled by Seraphine, because you just can't get close to her and can't do any damage. As we see, Kip Kangaroo onto his one of his favorite picks, the Gnar. So very, very different look to the first game.
Yes.
It is that Graves mid.
St. Paul's team is the team that's very different look, I feel like, in particular. We're not seeing the all-in dive. In fact, if anything, we're kind of getting more of a flighty.
It's a very, there's not huge synergies. I mean, it's very mid-game focused.
Yes.
Like, it's two, 3 items. It's very much, we just got to get in there and fight.
Yeah, exactly. You say solo queue, I say it's a very brawly team comp. Like, they're going to be looking for the skirmishes, the 2v2s, the 3v3s, and that St. Paul's team looks very strong in that regards. And I do like the Yuumi Ezreal combo. I think that's going to provide the mobility and the protection. So if Nia is able to sort of play this very well, it's going to be hard to track that Ezreal down. However, when I look at the Mansfield team, I feel this one's a little bit more similar to what they had last game, a bit more front to back. Obviously, you don't have that dive sort of sustain potential out of the Silas anymore. Instead, you get the Victor, who's a bit more of a control mage.
Yeah.
But it's a control mage who does a lot of damage as well, and you kind of get that same zoning effect with the Chaos Storm and the Gravity Well. It's going to be a tough match for sure for St. Paul's. I really like Mansfield's comp.
I like St. Paul's comp a lot more. I think they have a lot more mid-game agency because although last game that obviously Mansfield went for that late-game comp and executed it, but they kind of were given it. And during that middle phase of the game, they did kind of look a little bit lost and they were fighting a lot. But you can't really draw it a lot off it because it was just so one-sided. But they have picked a very, very late-game scaling-heavy comp. But their supportive champions, the Volibear and the Seraphine, are not champions that are going to allow you to get to that phase. Silas is good because he self-scales, but Victor and Silas can mid-game can really pop off once he gets that first mythic, second mythic. But I really have a few worries here for this Victor Jinx core, especially with Lee Sin and Mordekaiser being able to get in very quickly. Ezreal, of course, super flighty as well. But if you can execute a really good Lee Sin combo, it's going to be very, very difficult to keep these two carries safe because Seraphine is not a Lulu, and Volibear is Volibear's kind of a, in my opinion, a very useless champ. Like, not useless as in like, he changes every game depending on the other champions. He doesn't do any. He doesn't create his own agency. He plays off the agency of others.
One thing though that I do kind of need to point out, though, when we're talking about some of the champions like the Seraphine, though, and their ability to get to the late game, I do feel that's a situation where Mansfield might be able to avoid it just because of the comp St. Paul's had, particularly in the bot side. Like, Ezreal's mid game, it's sort of the weaker point when you're still trying to scale up the tier. You're still trying to get to that mana mune. It actually leaves a lot of earnest back on that other side of the lane. Like, he's not hitting his power spike until those are finished. Yeah. And that will provide some avenue, I do feel, for the Mansfield, particularly in that early game, where they might be looking to accelerate. And in perfect world for Mansfield, Hats would be able to sort of take advantage of that and really get the Seraphine and the Jinx a sustainable lead in that bot lane. And then at that stage, Mansfield just has to hold on to that lead as much as possible until they get to that deep scaling. So in that regard, I do see Mansfield almost adopting a similar strategy that they had to game 100%. Number one, where they're focusing more on that mid and bot. And that's why I do kind of like this Gnar pick for Mansfield. I think there's a little bit more escapability and a little bit more outplay potential for Kip Kangaroo should St. Paul's respond in kind for that top lane pressure. However, with the Lee Sin pick, you're going to need that little bit more earnest because it's going to be that much more aggressive. It's a very interesting game if it's played kind of in the way that we're expecting it to see it go out.
For me, the biggest matchup here is the mid lane because Graves is super strong if you know how to use him correctly. He is a massive lane bully, scales super well. But if you know how to play around him and play against him, he's not very effective. He kind of functions off this weird...
Oh, no, Messi, this isn't your jungle right now. Just takes one look and looks to walk the other way.
Kind of really, he didn't come into vision because he walked around the corner straight into the brush, saw them and went, oh, I'm in the wrong spot, and just backed out and walked away.
Mansfield just let him go, too. They're like, yeah, you know...
It was a bit too late. They couldn't really close the distance, and it's very hard to kill a Mordekaiser level 1, actually. He has a lot of damage once he gets his passive up and going.
I'd like to think that was just a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, it was look, we acknowledge this, and we're not going to make the same mistakes we did last game.
Nope, they did look at each other, give themselves a polite nod, say, we'll settle this in the lane, not in the jungle. We'll play a bit more conventional.
And hey, look, this time the game isn't decided at 2 minutes, so we might have a much more interesting contested match on our hands versus Jinx rocking up to lane with 3 items already. So a bit of a different look, this one. And again, I mean, I did say the optimal pick was the Brand, but I don't mind this Yuumi either because she's able to put in a lot of poke. I do hope she goes towards like an old school kind of Ludens build. But, you know, Moonstaff and the Moonstone Renewal is still like, just super strong on those Healy supports. The one thing about this Yuumi, though, generally you pick her when you have like not the Master, you're not going to pick Master Yi in this kind of scenario, but another champ you can kind of jump on, like a Garen or a Silas, something that really benefits from having the Yuumi.
It puts the earnest on hunting. It puts the earnest to make sure that you get that engage you're looking for, because it does work with the Lee Sin.
Yes.
But it needs to rely on that engage being successful. And to be quite frank, in our opening game, hunting was probably the most consistent member on St. Paul's. So I'm okay with them sort of banking on this Lee Sin to give them those early advantages. We can already see with the pathing going for sort of that 4 clear, so you might think, you know, could be looking for something a little bit early. I'm a little bit nervous when I start to bring things up like that, how much the players are actually listening to us in the live event. I kind of forget about that sometimes, but I am curious to see, you know, if we do get some of that pressure come through with hunting you on that Lee Sin. It's something that obviously St. Paul's is going to be relying on, but when you look at the map state, the only kind of lane that would be a pretty easy place to have that impact is the bot side.
Yeah.
But that's not really where he is at the moment, is he?
Well, I mean, early game, you're looking at Gnar is very killable early if he's in mini form, and the mid lane here if you use the Graves effectively. What you want to do is with Graves, you want to shove 1, you want to shove 1, 2. Let 3 bounce, shove 4, get a cheetah recall. Then when you come back and have waves 1 and 2, you can hold it in the midpoint of the wave, and then you can look for those smoke screen engages with the Graves. You want to try to push Victor towards the left pocket of the lane. Oh, sorry, that's blue side. Red side is going to be like the top. You want to push him towards whatever side of the jungle, that pocket next to the wall, so you can get the. Because obviously with Graves, what you're looking for is that Q off the wall to get the instant double damage proc. with the smoke screen to slow him down. So the escape, he has to walk back into the lane. That allows Lee Sin to find an angle for an engage. But obviously that's a lot of corralling, and that's why Graves is a champion who is quite strong mid, but you have to know how to play him and play against him. So if you're playing against Graves, because as a mid laner, I mean, I know myself naturally, you always kind of posture diagonally across from each other, but Graves is probably one of the only champions you don't want to do that, because he can throw that kill across and get a double proc so quickly. You want to sit in the wave in the middle of the minions and kind of go, yes, use the Q in the wave, because he wants to go for that double, and then move out all the time. But always be ready to move forward and out. It's almost like a bit of like when you dodge Vel'Koz, it's better to run towards him.
Yeah,
because you get smaller reaction time than it is to run away.
Exactly.
And Diana, one of those things to where you dodge to the right, you don't walk backwards or forward, just walk to the right. It's a very, very funny champion like that.
Yeah, it's always tricky, these kinds of matchups, especially when they're not really that conventional in a normal game of League of Legends.
That's where these picks really, like, Graves is one of those, like, if everyone knew how to play against Graves mid, would he actually be that strong? Like, okay, no. He would be B tier, A tier pick. But because he's that a little bit more unconventional, and the Graves player generally has played a lot more of these matchups, so they know what to do, it's going to be very difficult to kind of look around as top lane.
Yeah,
It could be a bit interesting.
This could get very interesting indeed. Hunting You, though, is around and is going to be looking for a bit of a re-engage. Gets himself behind Kip Kangaroo, and Messy Snow is willing to step forward into the minions. Kip Kangaroo does not have Mega anytime soon and might go down. Is able to jump to safety. I doubt we see the flash. No, we do. 2 flashes, in fact, as Kip Kangaroo was forced to use theirs. Very blood-hungry, bloodthirsty perhaps in that top lane, mid lane as well. A bit more of that poke. And it should be worth noting that because of that gank and because of that flash now, I'm not too sure that Admiral Kim is going to get that sort of early level play that they may have been looking for.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need the flash on Lee Sin. You got the Q, but I thought it was a flash Q coming out. It was like a flash E, but it was nowhere near range. So, but you know, you got double sums out of them. You got teleport advantage and flash advantage now on the Mordekaiser. Also, Mordekaiser will have to base and will do now, but is in a position where he can kind of, looks like Nars looking to hard chop. So you can TP back and you're almost back straight into a freeze. So you can just use that small health advantage you have now and just kind of let it wait out, as he'll be able to pick up a few nice items as well.
Meanwhile, as we see teleport being used by Messy and Snow to head back to that top lane. So teleport advantage not going to be used for any plays down bot. A little bit surprised to see that, but it's not going to be the end of the world at this stage. Meanwhile, again, Blazing Spear taking advantage of that early level sort of Ezreal right now and just continuing to shove that lane in, keep that bot side pinned down. Typically, the end result of this would be a play around that Dragon Pit, and with Hats making their way down there, they should be able to get some of that vision. But surprisingly enough, Hunting You a little bit faster on the jungle tempo in terms of positioning at this stage. So we'll be curious to see how this one plays out. I don't know if either team's quite in position just yet to make that Dragon move.
Yeah, I mean, neither team's gone for a reset either. I mean, obviously, Ezreal's running a bit low on mana. He wants to get back and go for that early back with the TR.
Closure nearly falling to Admiral Kim. Flash and Ignite was used by the Graves off
didn't have ulti.
Yeah, just didn't have that collateral damage. Meanwhile, down in the bot, the Chain CC gets the flash out of Nia, and that is a big summoner gone, especially because Hunting You was in the area.
Yeah, you know, you always know that threat of gank is coming through. Obviously, they didn't know they didn't have a, or they did have a ward there, but it was, oh no, they did have a ward there, so they didn't know he was there, which is kind of why they would have backed away from that play. You know, Ezreal really wants to get back, because when you play the other champions, especially like Graves too, one of Graves' biggest strengths is he can always back and get an advantage. Because his item breaks are 350 longswords. He's always going to buy longswords. Every one of his items builds out of like basically 2 longswords. So he is always able to get a nice back. So you really need to utilize those free weak calls all the time on Graves. It's almost one of those champions where it's better off, like he's dipped into the jungle here when he's got a bit of space. It's better just reset, pick up another longsword, and then go run back to lane again. Because you're just constantly getting that 1080, 1080, 1080, and every time it's making you slightly stronger. And you scale much quicker when you go for a bit of an aggressive engage like that.
Chaos Storm just kind of corrals Admiral Kim straight into Hats. One last auto should do it, and it's going to be Hats securing it. Love it when those melee autos follow dashes or flashes. It's always a frustrating experience, I have to feel, but not much Kim can do about it. First blood goes to Mansfield.
Yeah, a little bit over-aggressive there from Kim. You know, knowing that Closer had the minion advantage, he knew his jungler wasn't around and wasn't too sure. I mean, he would have seen Hats on the Scuttle Crab there as well, so I'm getting a little bit too excited. Or maybe going for that all-in plan, and you know, when you get the jitters, once you miss one, you go, okay, I can do it again, but without the Ignite, that's about 200 damage you're missing there, and oh, he does miss that cannon XP, which is a huge thing. He's already down a level.
can't help it, can you? If you see a cannon missed, you gotta call it out. It's instinctual.
It's just not the cannon.
Not the cannon.
Anything but the cannon. Oh, here we go, another one.
There we go.
That's a nice cannon take.
All I'm saying, if you're ever in a position for these high school players, they find themselves in Korea trying out for an LCK team, and they miss that cannon minion.
That's it.
You might as well just catch the plane flight back to Australia and you catch a plane flight to NA and settle for the LCS. That's exactly what you do. Yeah. Meanwhile, Blazing Spirits is going to continue to go ahead and siege that bot lane, keep that pressure on. I'm liking the invadage coming out from Mansfield right now on that top side of the map, just securing any buff that they can, especially while they know Hunting You is on the bot side. Very well played by Mansfield so far in our second game. I know it's not that bloodbath we saw in game number 1, but they've got themselves that 2K lead. Haven't been able to get that first dragon yet, but I think they're kind of okay with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, no dragon has been taken, but neither of these comps particularly rely on the dragons. And I mean, the thing is, Mountain Dragon is one of the best dragons to have in the first two. It gives you those residual bonuses, and it's always going to add up to more and more and more. Getting a Mountain Dragon, especially early on, it basically equates to effectively 500 gold once you get to that 30 minutes because of the stacking.
The encore onto Naya, and that's going to be enough damage. It's Shillo Stargo who gets the kill, actually. I think it was the Ignite with that final tick. A little unfortunate because they were trying to give the kill back over to Blazing Spirit. Meanwhile, up in the jungle, Admiral Kim, again in the Chaos Storm, is able to use the collateral damage to get out of the gravity well, but with Hats arriving to the scene, it will be another kill picked up from Mansfield, up 3-0 before the 10-minute mark.
And it's a little bit of using the aggression incorrectly, which is kind of similar, I suppose. Maybe that same issue from game 1 is knowing, we've got a comp that's stronger slightly earlier, but not knowing how to play around those power sparks is something that they might be kind of coming up against. And like another one with Graves matchup here, it almost seems like Admiral Kim doesn't really know the matchup, and because of that, the safe control mage is just going to sit there, taking a bit of advantage, and that's a great combo.
Yeah, Gnar into the wall. Meanwhile, down below, Hats actually gets the kill on the Hunting You. That should be the dragon secured. Boulder makes contact on the Messian Snow. Left, right, and center. Mansfield starting to pull away for the second time this afternoon.
And that's one of the things you really hate to see if you are a St. Paul's fan, is the fact that you can lose on both. Once you're losing on both sides of the maps at the same time, that's one sort of thing. There's a big kind of difference there, especially because of the fact that they're quite literally on opposite sides of the maps where you should be strong on one side and not on the other. Like Lee Sin in that Dragon Pit, like you have to concede, your bot lane's not in lane. Sure, you just got the kill, so you think you may have tempo, but you've reset, you don't have it on your side. It's time to go top, focus on the weak side, and go for the Rift Herald out there instead.
Yeah, this is a scary situation for St. Paul's right now because they lose out on the Mountain Drake. They've lost plating in all 3 of their lanes at this stage. 5 kills to 0. Kim Kangaroo jumping on Admiral Kim. An audible reaction out of the jungler actually on that. Not expecting the Gnar to be falling back right now. That actually does give Herald control over to the St. Paul's side, so they could be looking to make that play there. Closer actually steps forward into a bad situation. Hunting You and Admiral Kim should have been able to get it, but the gravity well gets the 2-man stun, and with the flash, Closer escapes.
Yeah, nice attempt to get out of there, Closer. 2 close calls this game already. That's got to really hurt if you are St. Paul's when you get that close to getting those multiple kills. But Volibear might be a little bit alone, but no. They won't be able to go from him. He's a bit too big, bit too tanky, the big scary polar bear. Not going AP, so can be killed. I do hate it when my Volibears just decide to randomly build an AP item because, look, they saw it on a Reddit thread from 3 years ago. It's not a favorable outcome, but you know.
Look, I'll tell you this right now. If we ever wind up in the game again, I don't even play Volibear, so you don't need to worry about that. Probably should though. I mean,
he's a funny champion. He's a nothing champion. He's a fill champion, in my opinion. Like, he has no individual agency.
I find him a little boring.
Yeah, he has no individual agency. It relies on you. He's a good... I guess I'll pick this.
I like boring champions, so now that I think about it. But I don't know. Volibear and Udyr, I just never got it.
Udyr has his own agency.
Oh my gosh, that engage. Getting already the Arcane Shift, but the damage too much from Blazing Spirit. Teleport coming through. Kid Kangaroo won't be able to stop it. But I'm not sure that Messian Snow really wants to be down there right now. Either way, top lane agency, top half of the map agency belongs entirely to Mansfield at this stage. That's going to be even more platings gone, even more of a gold lead being taken by this Mansfield side as Admiral Kim forced to go forward, especially with Hats coming at him from behind. But this jungle mid duo from Mansfield just continue to find kill after kill after kill.
That's it. They just keep coming in, and it's that slow, gradual build. They're going to drop this for Herald. You're going to get massive plate advantage.
Herald in mid. Gnar all by themselves up in the top lane, just wailing away.
Well,
this gold lead is actually, I think, larger than it was when what we saw at this stage in game number 1. And it's coming from map control as opposed to sort of that.
Which is Mansfield's biggest strength, and maybe that's why last game it felt a bit off, because once you get that little bit too far ahead, sometimes you go, oh, we're so far ahead, I don't know what to do with.
Oh my goodness,
As he's hitting
the dancing feet! This is insane right now. Messi still can't do anything to save the tower, and the scary thing is he's about to go Mega. One more auto can stop him, but the extra health from the Mega into the stun, Gnar into the wall, Kip Kangaroo flashes to avoid hunting, who has to flash after him again, trying to chase him down, won't be able to escape, however.
Just barely ran out of luck.
Kip Kangaroo may have just pulled off my favorite play of the game so far.
That was an excellent little, just the sidestepping, just refusing to leave the tower range. But beautiful getting taken down there eventually, but a beautiful solo play there to get that tower and that kill.
Yeah, that was... I know it wasn't a Nexus, and I know it's not Game 5, but I was getting the X-Pac vibes from that entire play right there. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's the top lane tier 1 tower. That's it. Game's over now.
No, that was. Wait, what was going on with Red Buff? That was.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
Instead, we got to worry about this little fight happening, I suppose, around that jungle. Blazing Spirit just steps forward, and St. Paul says, yeah, no thank you, that red buff is yours. Again, Mansfield just sort of laying out their territory, saying everything that was once yours is now ours. 8-1 lead in terms of kills, already approaching that 10K gold lead, and we're not even at 15 minutes yet.
That's it, right? They're already just dominating across the map. It's time to really transition that Jinx into the mid lane. Victor obviously also wants to be in the mid lane. It's one of those things, I hate that. When you're on a control mage and you're super far ahead, you're kind of like, look, I don't want to be in the enemy team because I don't like being in the side lane pushed up because I'm very easy to kill. But when you're ahead, you just have to be.
Meanwhile, Encore just tags, hunting you barely, as we see the Lost Chapter not able to get anyone back in return. Very similar ultimates, though, Stu. They do similar things. Meanwhile, back in that top lane, Messi, as well as Kip Kangaroo, again, kind of going at each other. But all of this lane earnest right now just belongs to Mansfield. All the map pressure just belongs to them. Yeah. They've got a second dragon as well, just off screen. Game number 2 going very similar to game number 1. Granted, only
in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
But similar kind of dominance.
But I like this a lot more, actually, from Mansfield. This, to me, feels like... Yeah, more controlled. And more like a team that is playing... how should I best put it? This feels more like a League of Legends game, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like... Brawley McBrawlenstein, let's fight each other 24/7.
Which is, when you look at St. Paul's team comps, though, that's almost like what you expected
exactly,
them to do.
Right? Yeah, they wanted that similar game to that first one, but it just didn't turn out that way, and Mansfield really just controlled style, just methodically picking apart the lane. The one thing is, this Jinx is a little bit of a free kill. She's sitting in a side lane all alone. If they can converge her with 4 members, she's already got a shot down. There's definitely no way they'll be able to get her, but, obviously has got that vision and protection, but...
Yeah. That's a lot of vision. Like, the only way you could get to her is by running it straight through that bot lane, and then you're kind of leaving the rest of the map open, I suppose. It's a bit unfortunate that it's such a juicy target, but you no longer have that paranoia from the Nocturne anymore to really
jump
just
there
go
straight
there.
away.
And even then, Blazing Spirit, recalls with the rest of the team, able to continue to pick up items. Not quite that significant item advantage we saw last game, but this time around, the gold is much more evenly spread for Mansfield.
Honestly, if they St. Paul's had swapped comp, so in game 1 they had this comp, and game 2 they had the other comp, it would be actually much better because the one thing they kind of lack at the moment is they don't really have a form of hard engage. Like, they've got Lee Sin, but Lee Sin, like, it's a very dependent. You can engage if you're like a mechanical god.
This
running him
is
down.
Not a good time because there's the Gnar straight into the wall. I mean,
it's Gnar exclamation mark actually. Okay. Gnar's the champion. Gnar exclamation mark. I should have yelled it a bit louder. It's a Gnar.
Just real quick though, the point I want to make though is that St. Paul's feels like they're playing last game's comps the wrong way around as we've seen another pick. To me, this actually highlights the strengths of Mansfield and their adaptability to play around their opponents. It's not like St. Paul's is wanting to play a more passive style with their comp. It's just what Mansfield has kind of forced them into. Like, this is very much Mansfield's successes for the second game in a row, as opposed to St. Paul's shortcomings. And that is why I'm really impressed with this Mansfield squad and how they're approaching this match.
It's one of those almost, she gave us a free game, but we want to prove that we are actually the better team. Because we go, look, they won and they stomped, but how much is them actually taking advantage of it? And how much is that St. Paul's falling behind, getting a bit tilted, looking for those big, powered impact plays, but not really landing with them. But you can see again, Mansfield, it exactly kind of was like in 2020 last year, where they were one of the favourites going into it, but obviously didn't end up.
They were my pick, weren't they? I straight up said they were going to win.
Well, we saw them. We saw them early game. We just saw one of the most immaculate, methodical breakdowns of a team. We're like, wow, these guys look unbeatable. And they were undefeated. I think they only lost one game to Indrapilli, who ended up being the other semi-finalists. Sure. Also, the other finalists, in the last round of regular finals, and then they almost made semis, but they got.
Indrapilli's a cool team.
Well, they got upset by a team that was well and truly outside. No, they lost. They didn't even make the top 4. They lost in quarterfinals.
Okay. Hillsborough.
Hillsborough, that's right, because they came third.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I mean, Indrapilli was a fun team. If you want to talk about the most improved team, I kind of lean towards Indrapilli. Although St. Paul's actually kind of made an argument on the.
St. Paul's were the very first team we ever cast for Queensland High School.
Against TSS Colors, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember. Didn't Colors win
that
game?
Yeah.
Trips down memory lane. Meanwhile, 3-man Gnar in the 1v3. I mean, you kind of got to make those plays. And into the Shadow Realm, kind of interesting. 1v1. Yeah, I'm not sure Messi really wants it. I think this is just Messi after a bit of revenge. And this is going to buy time for all of St. Paul's to arrive.
There's that pick on the sideline you wanted. Obviously, getting that shutdown onto Kip Kangaroo, not as big as some other shutdown there that they could have gotten, but that's a big way to get back into this game. It is, shared gold, but, that's what they need. They need to spread it out. Not many big items being completed from anyone here in Austin.
That is nice pick into the encore, but on that back line, Hunting You, looking for the flank. That's going to caution Stargo back, and that leaves Blazing Spirit alone in the front line, so another pick will be grabbed by St. Paul's. Shield Stargo going to try to escape. Nice sidestep right there. But Naya with one arcane shift, not even needed, is the mystic shot that secures the kill. As this is happening, though, top inhibitor's gone. Shelly's running rampant in St. Paul's pace. These picks are good and all, but at what cost? Because with that Chaos Storm, Messi and Snow might go down, and all of a sudden St. Paul's in position. They might lose this game. Kip Kangaroo holding Naya back, who has Rubik stuck with them. Hat's going to jump in as well. A double kill for the victor. Back at the Nexus. That is 4 members gone. It's Hunting You now versus the world. And what looked like a pick going St. Paul's way might just end this game.
What it looked like a bit of agency. They just pushed a little bit too far, and now they've been turned around by Mansfield. Kangaroos.
Yeah, timers are too long. Hunting You needs the miracle right now, trying to rely on the tower. Has access to Hats. The tower shot does get the kill, but the ace is secured. Minions are in the base. I don't know if they have that damage. 5 seconds until Naya is back up. They're going to try and end this one as fast as possible. We joked about the XPK before, but Kip Kangaroo's not going to attempt it again. Somehow, some way, St. Paul stays alive.
I mean, much safer to just kind of wait. Get the Baron, get the Ocean Dragon, and then come back into it. Oh, very, very risky there. Ezreal almost taking him down, but
Pulse check.
Gets away. We need a heart rate monitor.
Yeah, heart rate monitor after that one. That was spooky. Either way, that's going to be the third dragon. Still going to be going to Mansfield. Kip Kangaroo's going to heal back up on that red buff. And St. Paul's, they're not in a very healthy position at this stage.
No, this game is looking like it's even going to be quicker than the first one. The gold leave is... No, it was bigger. It was 23k. This is only 15.
Only 15.
Only 15.
Only 15.
Generally in League, you look for the game-breaking amount of 10k. 10k is like, okay, that's game over.
Yeah.
So, we have kind of passed that point. But
unless you're the Weekend Warriors.
Or just any, team below Challenger. But, yeah.
Oh, why would you do Gravitas like that?
Well, I mean...
They're actually doing well this split.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they actually are. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of I love it. I love seeing the amateur teams get picked up by, LCS.
Yeah.
And then have success. We're finally seeing that next generation of players. Either way, though, that's outside of the situation. That encore just wrecked St. Paul's. Kip Kangaroo is going to chase it forward. Messi is still going to try to escape. Has a bit of backup. There's the lost chapter. And that route will keep Kangaroo back, at least for now. Hunt is still on, though, and that Gnar is still available. One jump, and that could be a scary situation. There's the stun. There's the Gnar, but they cannot make contact with the inhibitor. Doesn't matter, though, because Shield Stargo as well as Closure arrive to the scene. Chaos Storm does a good chunk of damage. Admiral Kim will fall. Shield Stargo continuing to press forward with Closure. That exposes the Nexus. That should end the game. And it is Mansfield advancing to match point.
Yeah, and two very, very convincing games here from Mansfield. Obviously, the first one was a little bit closer. The second one, definitely not so much. But a fantastic game from both sides, and really, really well done there from Mansfield to take out that victory.
Yeah, it was a great game for sure for this Mansfield team. And if I am Mansfield, I'm feeling even better about that second game than the first game for the points that we highlighted before. It felt complete. They didn't need to rely on a catastrophic level 1 fight for them to get their advantages. They did that through lane control. They did that through that jungle mid-pressure. And then they didn't make mistakes. And that's the scariest thing, because in the past we've sort of seen teams get these leads, they get over-aggressive, they get caught out. But even when they were pressing forward in lanes, everything was warded up. And even when they got caught out, they opened up the base on the other side of the map.
Exactly,
They had a purpose for every time that they were positioned. This was a very intelligent game from them. And if I'm St. Paul's right now, my thought is, how do we get the earnest back so we can play our style of League of Legends? Because each of the team comps they put together, they were denied to play to their strengths.
Yeah.
And that is a scary situation to be in.
They just kind of seem to be missing elements of it. I mean, that first game, again, it's one of those ones where, look, you can see Mansfield look like the better team so far. But, if they were able to sit those lanes, maybe it would have been a whole different scenario. Yeah. But this game, this comp, they just really missed that bit of engage and power punch. They needed something to pick out the Jinx.
Yeah.
Because they had Mansfield have gone a very similar. Both has been a, Enchanter, support, buff up the Jinx, very strong, consistent mid lane damage, and then 2 tanks.
Yeah.
That's what they've done, and that's the safest and easiest way to play League of Legends. 2 carries, good enchanter support, big beefy frontline guys look after themselves.
Exactly.
That's basically the basic form. If you're teaching someone how to play League in a 5v5, you go, pick Galio mid, pick Silas mid, pick these simple safe champions. I want Scions, Malphites, Maokai's top lane. I want Sejuani's in the jungle, Zax's in the jungle. These just big beef balls that don't protect, and then 80 carry with a bit of damage support. All your job is to do is keep him alive, and we'll just go from there.
Where do I play my Shaco in support? I want my Shaco. Anyways, look, that's going to do it for game number 2. We're going to be going to a bit of a halftime break right now. It's going to be a bit extended. However, before we do, one more time, I'd like to thank our sponsors at Torrens University, Optus, MSI, MSY. Again, the finals, they are being held here live at the Billy Blue College in Fortitude Valley, Brisbane. Beautiful area. So a big thank you to them. If you're into gaming and esports, please make sure to look them up, learn more about their game design, game programming, 3D design, animation, graphic, and communication design courses. Pretty much anything that you would want to do if you want to break into this industry. And if you're here live, I know there's a couple of you, seek out Sean, please. He is the design lecturer. He can help you learn more about their game design programs if that's something you're interested in. So go have a chat. Again, a bit of an extended break. Perfect time to do so.
Exactly, and we'd also like to give a shout out, of course, to the PAX VIP Experience competition that's being run by our sponsor, Billy Blue College of Design here at Torrens University. You could win a PAX VIP Experience for 2 of you, and the main thing that we're really looking for, obviously, gone to PAX, awesome event, but a free session online with a professional League of Legends player or streamer from the Legacy esports team. So all you have to do is fill out the entry form. We'll put the link in the Twitch chat. And if you're here at the venue, of course, there's heaps of posters around with QR codes. Just scan it, submit your entry, and it's simple as that to get maybe a free trip to or a PAX VIP experience down in Melbourne. And, of course, a free coaching session as well from a League of Legends
I'm tempted to try and go for that right now. I might see what I can do. Anyways, we're going to throw it to a break. When we come back, it's going to be game number 3. Mansfield with a chance to take it in a sweep. Don't want to miss that if they do. These games have been going quick, so stay with us. More League of Legends when we return.